Hello teacups, what's brewing? So today we've got a video from the fair Chantal. I'm not feeling so well. Now the previous video I didn't react to because guys, her TMI story times, I mean they're mostly made up, they're always disgusting and I wasn't here for it. She did call it On Location, it was just basically a car mukbang by any other name. It's not entirely shocking that right after that she might now be struggling with things, because being in her car and getting food is very triggering and she tends to have not so great reactions later in terms of like her depression and how willing she is to engage with her feelings. She tends to feel them a lot more strongly post binge. That is very normal for a binge cycle. To come out of it feeling gross and feeling like you got to do something about it, you got to be honest, you got to do things. So I have suspicions but no proof that she binged after that video, and it doesn't surprise me she's not feeling so great about it, but we're going to get into the video and we'll see where we are.
Hey guys, so I'm going to try not to fidget with my nose and do other things because I don't really feel like editing this video, honestly. I just wanted to come on here and I guess just let you know how I'm doing. I'm not like my happy self in this video, and that's just...
For the record, you're not your happy self in a lot of videos, but well, clearly you're going through something here.
The same things going on. I have been struggling with mental health, like my whole teenage adult life basically, and a lot of you know that because I've shared a lot of my personal life, which makes it hard for me to stop sharing like I sometimes want to, because when I start feeling vulnerable and too open, and but if you guys want to see my life, and there's a lot of struggle with that as well, right?
There's a lot to unpack there. I'm assuming she's going to go into more detail. So in terms of her struggling with her mental health from teenagehood upwards, same. It's very hard. This might sound a little bit dismissive. Please know I'm not dismissing any of the mental health issues she mentions in this video at all. But either having had it for so long, you recognize your symptoms and you come up with ways to try and counter them yourself, or if you get to the point where you don't feel you can do that, which is also completely valid, you go and you get help. And she doesn't really do that. Now, that's not to discount, she did say that she had set herself up for an assessment with a mental health team to see if she could get help. But the reason I'm bringing that up is because it's not a one and done. Like I've had issues with cycling through, probably not major depression, but cycling through depression since I was a teenager. And I've had times where I've been on medication for it and I'm not currently. It doesn't mean I don't feel it, but at the moment I'm able to manage it without medication. She might not be at that point, but she technically has a therapist. She mentioned, I can't remember which video it was, I'll see if I can find it, but I might not be able to go through everything, but I can remember she was eating some kind of junk food mukbang, I think it was McDonald's, and I remember just stopping, I was reacting to it, and she did something, she was like, oh, I've got so many things to deal with, and I was like, why are you closing your eyes? I remember that. And she'd mentioned she'd gone to a therapist. And then later in a live that I don't necessarily think's on a channel anymore, but might be, she mentioned she'd never gone back and she should. So she's accessed help before that she's never used, you know? And I don't necessarily think the new assessment for her health is going to help her, because the point of having these tools is that you use them. So going into this video where she talks about her mental health, I'm very sympathetic with the problem, but I struggle to sympathize with the fact that she seems determined not to use the tools she's given as an answer. So just to set up my expectations here and kind of how I'm feeling with this, So, you know, I'm going to try and be fair to her because this is a serious thing and it sucks to go through. But...
So, it's not all giggles and everything else. So...
Oh, I like that mug. Not the point of the video, but...
I just have been really down the past couple of days.
I mean, if we're going by the past couple of days, the only thing we've seen from her in the past couple of days, I believe, is that mukbang in the car, which is never an indicator of a good headspace. So it doesn't surprise me at all that the last couple of days have been challenging for her and she's now depressed. Doesn't surprise me at all.
I've just been unable to really pull myself out of the funk, and when I say pull myself out with my mental health the way it is, it feels like I really literally have to try to pull myself out of like quicksand. It's just...
Yeah, that's depression and it sucks. For real, you guys, when she took a few days break, a few days ago last week, and I knew that because I was just coming onto my cycle, and usually I have like mood swings coming up before that. That's very normal. I spent 2 days crying in bed and it sucked. And it was very hard to pull through. And I did a couple of things that I knew wouldn't feel good to do, but would help me feel better later. But I just kind of had to feel my feelings a little bit. And sometimes you get to that point, but there were still things I knew I could do. There was still exercise, even though, do you think I wanted to drag myself outside and go to the gym? I did not. I went, I did a little because I didn't feel like I could do a lot, dragged myself home into the shower. That was all I did that day. Got back into bed and cried some more. There was no reason for that. There was nothing I could hang my hat on that had happened. There was no trigger for it. I just felt that way. And sometimes you just feel that way. And as somebody who has had these problems from the sound of it for a long time, like you know that happens sometimes, and it's not going to be easy, but there are ways you can help yourself, you know, and I don't feel like she does that all the time.
My mind doesn't shut off. I have no energy, like, to just even do anything. I can't read, and my mind just wanders and wanders.
It was the same last week.
I've been using food
watch a movie
to self-medicate again.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
And I just go through these cycles, and I go through these cycles where I feel like for some reason that if I ignore these issues and just keep self-talking myself that I can deal with them and control them, that it's gonna happen.
Nothing in your channel, nothing in real life has convinced me that you can talk your way out of it. There is something to be said for positive self-talk. There definitely is, to be like, okay, let's maybe not beat myself up over this. Let's see how we can change things. But she has not shown a history of finding it easy to change. Put it that way. Change isn't easy a lot of the time, especially when you're feeling bad. But why she thinks she can talk herself out of it, I'm not sure. Not if she's not taking other actions, you know?
What's the definition of insanity again? Yeah.
If you recognize this, why do you keep doing it to yourself? If you know that doing the same things and expecting a different result is the definition of insanity, that's exactly what she does. Like, what are you changing this time? This realization that she goes through once a week. What are you changing this time that's going to make this one different?
Anyways, so my anxiety, depression, I haven't even been able to go and deal with my medical responsibilities that I'm supposed to have done this week. Just don't want to.
That's actually a little interesting. Didn't she say recently, when she was saying about how she deals with her life, you know, she's got friends off camera, she deals with life, she keeps her house clean. One of the things she said was that she deals with her medical responsibilities, and now she's saying that that's not the case. So she very recently held that up as an example of something she does. I'm wondering what medical responsibilities she had. I mean, she said her back was healed up. Is she still seeing doctors for, I mean, anyone who's had a surgical hysterectomy, I suppose, or hysterectomy? No. Or menopause at all, maybe? I'm not sure if the treatments massively differ. Is she still seeing a doctor for that? Is she still seeing a doctor for her blood clots? Or is she talking about The diabetes she apparently doesn't have. Obviously there's some things there, but they could well be connected. I mean, if she's got to do something medical that is dealing with an issue that she doesn't want to face right now, I could absolutely believe that that would make her depressed. It would make her not able to engage with that. That would make sense to me. But I do wonder what issue it is.
Deal with life at all, and don't have the energy, the mental energy to do it.
I can believe that.
So, I am waiting for an appointment because I was gonna say, you're probably wondering how am I gonna fix all this. So I am waiting for my appointment in August. Unfortunately, they didn't have any earlier availability. If something does become available, they're gonna call me and let me know. But for now, August, I think closer to mid-August, is when my first appointment for psychotherapy is going to be.
She did say mid-August before. I thought she'd said August 10th. But either way, it's currently the 23rd of July. So you're talking between 2 and 3 weeks before that happens, if it's kind of mid-August time. I want to know what she's going to do until then. And I want to know why she's going to a group of doctors to be assessed when she already has a therapist. Why would you not return to the therapist you have and say, look, I want to do this properly, I want to get reassessed. I want to, because she's going to have to do that anyway. Because they can't, I'm assuming they can make an initial assessment, I'm guessing, when they meet her and she answers questions and things. But I assume as she goes through therapy, that will become more precise. I would take the initial assessment as essentially a hypothesis of what they think is wrong with you. But they're going to have to see you multiple times to be able to be absolutely sure, to see if there's anything else going on, what kind of treatment's going to be best for you. And one thing she's proven is that she thinks of all medicine as a switch. I did that and it didn't work. When a lot of the appointments, a lot of the treatments that she needs to access are not one and done. They're not a case of take this pill. They are, for her long-term problems, there are long-term solutions. And I really wish she would engage with that more, but it's so uncomfortable for her and it's slow and she doesn't want to do it. And I understand not wanting to do it. The time I went on antidepressants, I did not want to go to the doctor and talk about that. I had my sister practically push me into that office. You'd be like, just go talk to someone. And I'm glad I did, but it wasn't a comfortable appointment at all, because I knew I was going to go in, I was going to start talking about it, and I was going to sob. And that's exactly what I did, but it led somewhere good, or somewhere productive, if not comfortable. And she needs to understand that in order to help herself, it's not going to be a comfortable process. But knowing that, that's one of the reasons she won't do it. So I sympathize a lot with her problems, but I don't know how much progress she's hoping to make when she refuses to not access. She's accessing solutions, but she's refusing to use them.
They're going to do an assessment, determine what kind of therapy I would benefit from the most. Mm-hmm. And then
it might take some trial and error for her. I called my
doctor today and I said, I need help, I need to get back on medication.
Okay. Because
when I was taking the escitalopram, which is an antidepressant, anti-anxiety, I did...
Escitalopram... I can't remember what my antidepressant was called. I feel like it ended in pram as well, because I know there are different names for different versions of kind of the same thing. But I want to say it was citalopram. I'll have to check it later. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, could I have some, while we're doing this process, could we discuss medication again if she's been on it before? I think if having something that helps to balance you out a little bit, if it did help, will make you feel more capable of doing other things, which is not a bad decision.
Feel more functional, felt more optimistic.
That's fine. And I hope that helps her.
So I'm going to start back on that, just the lower dose for now.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to stop taking it like I did last time, like an idiot.
That kills me. She said this before. Oh, that reminds me, actually. She said in a recent video, in terms of like medication, she's also stopped taking. Speaking of her hysterectomy, she was on some kind of hormone pill or medication. What the hell was I saying then? She was on some kind of pill or medication or something that she was meant to be taking. She didn't like the side effects and she stopped taking. But she doesn't talk to her doctors when she does that. She just doesn't like it, so she stops taking them. And I remember when I was reacting, being like, go talk to your doctor if the side effects are bothering you. There might be another medication that does the same thing that doesn't give you those side effects. So that's something else. If she's still not compliant with a hormone medication, that could also be affecting her mood, couldn't it? I mean, again, I haven't had a hysterectomy, but I know when I'm on my period, my mood is jacked. And I can't imagine suddenly not having a center producing hormones would make that easier at all. So again, it's great that she's trying to access medication, but she needs to be compliant with everything first. It's being compliant she struggles with. But she needs to talk to the doctor about the antidepressant. She needs to talk to the doctor about the other medication she should be on and isn't taking, and how that might be interacting with her mood. It's so dangerous just to come off meds.
So, yeah, my doctor is amazing. Like, my doctor's amazing.
It's so amazing that you're not listening to her. I mean, I'm glad she's accessing help. It's better than not, but how much good do you expect that help to do if you don't follow instructions?
She was like trying to get me out of my anxiety and like saying things like, you have to like confront your fears, because you keep succumbing to them, you know? You have to just ask yourself, what's the worst thing that can really happen?
That is a very useful tool. When I'm having issues, what I tend to ask, or what I tend to tell myself is, okay, I have this problem, and when I'm getting frustrated, I cannot be the first person in the history of people to have had this problem. So somewhere along the line, someone else has solved it. And that helps me a lot. That's a personal thing to me, but it helps me a lot. I can't be the only person in the world to have faced this, and therefore there must be a way forward. And she sounds like she's got a similar thing going, like worst case scenario. But the thing I would worry about here is that a lot of the solutions to her problem are going to involve massively changing how she lives. Because worst case scenario for her, personally, that she'll be alone forever, which I think does scare her. Like, the breakup with BB hit her hard. 2, that she's gonna have to get off social media because she's entirely financially dependent on it. And I think one of the reasons she's not as willing to engage with those answers, I don't think she'd be willing at any point, I don't think it's an easy thing to engage with, is that it would involve, to do it properly, would involve massive changes in her life that she doesn't want to do, and worse than doesn't want to do, might not be capable of doing, in the sense of her employment and how she earns money. And that's, so saying worst case scenario for her, worst case scenario is actually pretty bad. She's painted herself into a corner a lot. So I don't necessarily think that worst case scenario might be a good place for her to go. I think that might trigger her a bit more.
And a lot of the anxiety because anxiety brings upon these like fears, and they're a lot of the time irrational, right? Like this past couple days I haven't even wanted to leave my house. So I do.
But why? Is that an irrational fear, or is it based on a rational reason? Like, I'd want more information about that before I judge it. Let's move on.
I feel a lot better when I am doing my vlogs for you guys. I'm so much happier when I go for my walks and I'm on track.
Yeah,
I'm eating well.
You're eating a good diet. You feel more in control of your life. And you are, however little she's doing, she is pushing herself with the exercise. Those are healthy habits that will help your mental state. So it's not surprising that her vlogs would be helpful.
But once I fall off, it's just so hard to get back on. It's just so hard to get back into that groove, because then I start feeling like crap when I'm eating like crap or overeating and not exercising.
And I understand that, and it is hard, especially given that you do fail a lot, and I don't mean that to sound quite as judgy as it's going to come out, but you do fail a lot, and you show your failures a lot. So you get a lot more feedback on that than the average person who keeps it private. You choose to put yourself in a position where you're getting feedback on that, but you do get a lot more, and it's hard. But ask yourself here, if eating crap is making you feel like crap, how will continuing to eat crap do anything but continue to make you feel bad? So you definitely have an action you can take here that's going to help you.
And it's just so easy to just slip right back into that rut, you know? So
it's your life.
I have to really try to get back on and just face the hardships ahead. But I was talking to her about maybe going back on avoidance, which avoidance is a medication usually given for ADHD. It's a form of amphetamine, and
it's an appetite suppressant. Yeah, she did say she'd been on this before and didn't like it.
It did help me not think about food the whole day, but it made my anxiety a lot worse because you're almost jittery on it.
That would make sense. Yeah.
But I don't know. I was thinking maybe going on a lower dose because I did like the energy it gave me. It just like made me like do everything I needed to do.
Okay.
And I didn't think about food the whole day. Now, whenever it wears off in the evening, you start thinking about food again. Obviously,
I feel like if she could work on regulating her sleep, then when those thoughts started coming back in, maybe she could go to bed, which would be ideal. But that's obviously another step she'd have to take.
Hungry again. So it's not like you know what I mean? But she didn't think it would be really good medication because of the anxiety issue, so.
That head drop then, I thought it was going to be a bit longer, but that's an interesting thing, and the reason is, a lot of the time, when you're looking for help, this is what surgery was for me, and I've mentioned this before. You have a next step that maybe you don't want to take. You convince yourself, I can do this myself, I can do it without this. It sounds here like surgery was that for me. In a weird way, I put off getting surgery because if surgery didn't work, I didn't really have a next step, you know? And so I've described it before as surgery was the ace in the pocket I had, and I didn't want to lose the possibility of help, even if it meant them receiving that help. And I realize that sounds very strange, but it was a safety net. For want of a better word, it was the idea of a safety net if things got really bad. I get the sense that she's been toying with this idea of going back on Vyvanse. I think, did you say Vyvanse? Is that what it's called? Going back on a medication to control appetite has been this safety net that she hasn't want to jump into, but is there. And if the doctor has now said, well, no, that's not a good fit for you because it's going to increase your anxiety, it's going to give you this, it's, you know, for whatever reason, in her professional opinion, it's not a good choice. That's just pulled that out from under her. So she probably also feels worse because now it's like, well, this thing I thought could help if I didn't get too stubborn to take it, is now not there. I've lost that option. How can I have lost that option? And I can't imagine that settling well with her.
That's what I'm dealing with right now. So I have to go pick up my medication right now, and I'm gonna start that. Hopefully that will help. And I need to get back on track.
Yeah. You have to take the actions to fix it, honey. You can access help, but you need to take the actions.
I don't know what else to say, honestly.
We're halfway through the video. She obviously has other things to say.
I'll be back whenever I can make some videos for you guys. I'm still having trouble.
She thinking of taking a big break here? I don't think she'll be gone that long for a couple of reasons. One, if she's taking antidepressants, they'll kick in. And two, she can't afford to be off YouTube that long.
Deciding like what kind of content I want to do, same old problems, because you know, just do what you want, but I want to like.
We don't say that. Sorry, we don't say that. Well, actually, Let's not discount everybody. Some people say that. But she's the one who says, I do what I want. Her entire problem with her channel is that she wants to lose weight, but she doesn't want to let go of food. That's it in a nutshell. She wants to be able to eat all the things while also losing weight, and they are mutually exclusive. That is the problem she faced. I do know she had a poll up on her community tab saying she was coming up with a schedule and she couldn't decide what she wanted for Mondays. And one of the things she had on there was Mukbang Monday. So I can't imagine the feedback she got for that was particularly positive. I didn't go in and check the comments, and then I went back, and once again the community tab has been scrubbed. So as of making this video, before I clicked on this video, I went and checked it again and it was empty. So basically she has to either give up the food or go for mukbangs and accept the consequences of that. But that's her problem in a nutshell. She wants to have her cake and eat it too.
I do want to be a successful YouTuber, and I feel like with that comes structure to your and consistency to your channel, which I have not been able to do. And I think you know, that's really stunted the growth of my channel, along with just my anger.
I mean, she has. Oh, hang on. Let's.
Outbursts.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about that, and I was like, don't my followers know that whenever I'm angry and I lash out, it's not at my supporters?
Oh God, we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, I mean, she's got a decent sized channel. It obviously pays her bills. Like her subscribers are what, 77k at this point, 77 point something. But I wouldn't say she has a huge amount of growth that I've witnessed. I could be wrong. I haven't checked her numbers or compared them or anything like that. But yeah, she gets very angry a lot, and viewers don't like that. So to say, well, don't they know? Well, if you're giving that message to everyone, you're not going to then say, oh, but not you, sweetheart. I'm still watching the video. And I realize the message is actually directed at me and other reactors and things. But as a viewer, whatever you put out, it's whatever you say to everyone. And this is one of the issues. Pre-cancer, Anne Boleyn's attitude was appalling towards her viewers. And she'd be like, no, boo-boo, this isn't directed to you if you're a loyal supporter, but fuck you all. And we used to get that a lot, and I really lost my patience with it as a viewer. And she does the same thing. And she's like, it's not there for my supporters, it's not there for my loyal viewers. And I've talked about this before. I am a loyal viewer. I am one of her most loyal viewers. I'm not always a supportive viewer. I'll call her shit when she gives a shit, but I'm loyal. And your viewership pay for your life. Your viewership support you. Your viewership question you. Your viewership get to have an opinion on you so long as you're putting it out here. So yeah, you say it to everyone, regardless of whether you're telling them, well, you don't count.
It's not at my loyal viewers. And then I thought,
I'm a loyal viewer.
Like, I'm stupid because I'm supposed to not negative self-talk. But anyway, I'm not too bright because
I don't think I'm not too bright is really that much less negative than I'm stupid. It's saying the same thing. On a genuine note, something I would maybe suggest for her, usually I'm saying take more personal responsibility. But in this moment, I would say if she is genuinely trying to make her self-talk less negative, it would be a case of focus on the action and not you as a person. Instead of saying, I am stupid, I am not bright, say, this action will not achieve X. This action is not conducive to Y. This action will not lead to Z. And then you can look at what you're doing without saying, I am stupid because I did this, you know? And that would probably help her with that.
I was thinking that, and I'm like, not all of my viewers are going to be supporters. Like, it's just not reality.
Yeah.
It's social media, it's the internet. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm thinking.
But you have this realization every other day. Every time you go off at your viewers, we'll say viewers, we won't say supporters, lovers, haters, anything. Every time you go off at your viewers, within a few hours, you feel like you've made a tit of yourself and you have this realization. So again, my question is, what are you doing differently this time that's going to change it that you haven't already done?
And I think a lot of the time I'm just angry with myself, you know, because that's a big part of it too, is this anger.
And you've spoken about it before. Keep going to therapy. That was one of the uncomfortable things you didn't want to deal with. The reason she doesn't have an answer here, the reason she's just kind of stuck, is because she just doesn't like her answers. She's got a ton of answers. She's got a ton of support she can access and is saying she's going to access. But she's also got a ton of support she's accessed already that she hasn't used. And so she's just stuck because here is the answer and I don't want to hear it. So I'm not going to move from where I am. So I don't want it to be true.
That's just what I'm dealing with, and just wanted to let you know, because I was just gonna like wait till I felt better and then come back all smiles and like do videos for you guys. But I feel like that's just so fake, you know?
Can I just say also, if I am going to be a doubter here, I'm not saying that anything she's saying is untrue. Because clearly, even without this video, it is clear that she has moments of depression, she has mental issues she's facing, a lot of it's tied up with food, a lot of it's tied up with social media. She has things she's definitely facing, and I'm not belittling that. But she just showed Pete as being depressed in her video before last, the last one I reacted to. And one of the pieces of feedback she got for that is, poor Pete. And even people who don't really like Pete, he didn't deserve to be put on blast there. And now suddenly we've got this video where she's looking for a lot of sympathy. And I'm not saying she doesn't deserve the sympathy, but it doesn't, being sympathetic to it doesn't absolve her of her responsibility to do things about it if she wants to see change. But I find the timing of this very interesting when Pete gets a lot of sympathy for what he's going through, and suddenly, I need to talk to you about my depression.
It's just so fake to hide these parts of being human. You know what I mean?
Out to the bigger world again, not your personal responsibility.
And that makes me feel like insecure about myself, because, I go on like Instagram, and pretty much most people on there are just like, their lives just look so perfect, and it makes me feel like maybe I should like step it up, and I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, you just feel like not as good, and it's just like.
Can I ask a genuine question then? Why do you continue to seek out things that you know make you feel bad? Knowing it's going to do that to you. And this is not new to the age of the internet, although social media makes it a lot more instant and a lot more encompassing because it's everywhere. But before the internet, it was all the talk about how magazines give an unrealistic expectation of the female body and the pressure on people. There's always been an element of that in any form of media that's being consumed by society. So the internet is more all-encompassing, but you are seeking out things that make you feel bad. And wherever you go, like, why are you pursuing this when you know it makes you feel bad? If you know Instagram is going to make you feel like crap, delete Instagram. You don't need to be there. I realise I was going to say, like, get off social media. I've said it before. She's past the point where she can just give up YouTube. I get it. There's a lot more involved there with her finances, with her living, with her being able to survive in the world, that YouTube serves that purpose for her. So she can't just get off YouTube. But if you're saying Instagram makes you feel bad, turn off Instagram or go to different places on Instagram that aren't going to make you feel bad.
Why do we have to compete with one another instead of not feeling as good? Why don't we just...
But people who put stuff on Instagram aren't competing with you. You've created this competition in your head that you're now losing.
We're just different instead of not as good. But
that's
human nature. It's human nature to be.
And therefore I can't be personally responsible for the fact that I click into that. this makes me feel bad, but it's human nature that it does that, so I'll just keep doing it.
To try to be just competitive with everyone else. It's just the kind of cutthroat world we live in.
I think it's natural to compare, but how competitive you make that is personal.
And that world doesn't care if you're suffering mentally, you know? You better pull your shit together.
Then get out of that world. It's imaginary. It's social media. Half of it isn't real, but it would be generous to say half of it is real. You know, if you're not surviving there, get out of it. You don't need to be there.
And fake it till you make it. I can't fake it.
Who's saying that to you? No one is saying that to you but you.
I guess I just get angry because I don't want these issues, you know?
And I believe that whether you want them or not, you have them. So instead of reacting to the life you wish you had, deal with the life you have. Because that's the only way you can improve the life you have.
I don't want them.
Well,
and I mean that,
but you've got them.
That's why I deny them so much instead of just dealing with them head on.
It's okay to not want them. It's okay to be like, oh, why do I have to deal with this? But it doesn't change the fact you have to deal with it.
You know, mental illness is not something that you can see, so it's hard for people to judge you on it.
It's not a broken arm. It's not something obvious and people can go, oh, your arm is broken. Let me adjust according to that. Like, it's not a visible illness a lot of the time, but I will say a lot of your behaviors are very visible and I can see them very clearly, but then I've experienced them, so I'm more sensitive to them that way. But your behaviors are not subtle if you're looking at them carefully.
It's more of a behavior thing. It's more of a internal thing. It's you feel.
It's true.
Only you feel the guilt, the shame.
No, not only you. It's a disorder because you are not the only one feeling it. Yeah, it feels very lonely. I'm sure it feels very isolating. There is help if you're willing to continue accessing it. But it wouldn't be recognized as a disorder if you were the only one going through it.
Sense of hopelessness. It's that hopelessness that really bothers me. Just that feeling of like, what's the point of doing anything?
To change it is the point. I realize I'm simplifying this. In the moment, it doesn't feel that way. I did not spend 2 days crying in my bed because I have all the answers. Yes, sometimes you're just crying in your bed. But ultimately, the point is to change it.
Everything is just gray. There's no life in anything when I feel like this. Okay, so I'm not doing all right now, but
Okay, so
I'm working and doing what I can to try to get better, and that's I'm going back on my medication. I'm signed up for therapy, and I know the hardest part of that is that I don't have a passive role in this. I have to really just get back on track, and I know after like a day or two I'll start feeling better again.
Yeah. But it's not get back. You've had 1,000 fresh starts, and I know you love the high of it. You've had 1,000 fresh starts. It's not about getting back on track. It's about staying on that track, even with the difficulties. And that's where you're failing at the moment. That's where you're struggling, I should say. You're struggling to do that, but you're struggling to do it in all elements. It's a common thread in your life.
Anyway, I guess just a short talk video today. But a lot of you are probably going to wonder where I am. And I just want to be honest. I don't want to just come on here like tomorrow.
Can I just say, I'm wondering she's wearing the same top, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything because she rewears tops a lot. But is this same day as the car eating? Or is this the next day and she's had a bit of time? I'm not sure.
I'm like, okay guys, you know, after I've been through so much in the past couple of days, just mentally, just thought probably just be better to just tell.
I'm reading that as I've binged my face off for 2 days. I'm guessing this is later, and what started with the car eating escalated.
Tell how I'm feeling, you know, be honest about it. I find I try to hide, I am pretty open, but I do try to hide things about myself because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be ridiculed for them. And that's another thing, like I'm slowly learning, but at least every time I say that I thought I learned, but I really think I realized just looking around, like literally everybody on the internet gets ridiculed for something. Like if you have a weakness, people are gonna.
Yes, criticism is not always ridicule. I'm not ridiculing you right now. I sympathize hugely for your mental issues. But I'm still going to sit here and say, okay, what are you doing about them? Okay, but you've done that before and it didn't work because you weren't consistent with it. So what are you doing about it that's different? That's not me ridiculing you.
I'm gonna pick it apart so bad. It doesn't matter, you know, what it is. If you have a weakness, which all human beings do, people are gonna find it. And
yeah, I mean, that's true. Do you know how many comments I've had about my wig since I started doing this? Like, dude, it's something visible, people can see. Of course, people are going to comment that I'm sitting here in a wig. I'm pulling my hair out as I speak to you. Yes, it's a thing. But you're choosing to be on social media. You have the choice of getting off. It would take a lot of change in your life, but you have the choice. Or you have the choice of accepting this thing that you've said again and again and again and again, oh, I understand this and I accept it, when actually you don't at all.
And they're going to rub it in your face and try to put you down for it. For me, it's various things, but I'm just gonna completely ignore that, so that, like I've been doing.
If you're mentioning it, you're not ignoring it.
Right now. I do let it get to me, and I go crazy and start ranting, but I realize, you know, it's just like, what's the point? That's what these people want. That's what the reaction they want from you. So I get angry with myself for even like reacting to it. So I just like,
what are you doing right now?
But
this is the thing as well. She doesn't seem to realize, because she's not ranting here, because she's just talking about it normally, that she thinks, okay, so this is not me acknowledging it. This is me ignoring it. You know, the first step to ignoring something, don't mention it. You don't need to bring this up. If you know it, you don't need to bring it up. And every time you do, you just continue this cycle. You continue this. So stop mentioning it. Angry or not angry, the way to ignore it is to ignore it.
And not take it personal. I mean, everybody gets hate online. No one is exempt. And there's just going to be people that just don't disagree with me. I mean, not everyone's going to agree with me and have hold my opinion.
I think she means there are going to be people that disagree with me all the time.
Yeah, so I guess that's it. Such a boring, dull, depressing video. But, you know, that's, like I said.
Sympathy.
Anyways,
and don't expect change.
I'm severely depressed right now,
So give me sympathy and don't expect me to do the things I need to do consistently to fix it.
And I think that the problem with my binge eating is a form of self-medicating.
I think definitely right now you've got a lot of bigger problems in your life that you're not really dealing with. But from the sounds of it, of what she said, obviously I don't know everything about her life, I just know what she's presented online, but she's been talking before about how she can remember being in like a pushchair with a bag of chips, and how, you know, she remembers food really far back, and she's always obsessed over it. She's always been fascinated by it. And so she's had a maladaptive relationship with food for a very long time. So it's self-medicating to an extent, but it's always been there. And that's why continuing with these treatments is so important, because, you know that phrase, Rome wasn't built in a day? Like, she is 36 now, I think she said. So she has had, if it started that early, a solid 30 years of using food in a way that is not, I don't want to say normal, but it has not been healthy for her. So it's going to take a long time. I mean, Pete is suffering with depression and he goes to therapy. Like, it's not going to be a straight line. It's not always going to feel like it's helping. But the process is important, and you always start and you never continue.
You know, I was talking to my friend the other day. She smokes cigarettes, and she's like, because I used to smoke like menthols, but she's like, you've always been so good at being able to just quit whenever you want to.
Sorry. That was... Talk about a backhanded compliment. I'm sure it wasn't intended that. It was in relation to an unhealthy habit. So quitting was a good thing there. But you've always been able to quit whenever you want. And you're like, it's not necessarily a good thing.
Because for her, you know, she's addicted to cigarettes, and I said, you want to know what it is? I could quit cigarettes anytime I want to, but I can't quit cheeseburgers.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's true.
It's exchanging one thing for another.
It's
You're
so
still,
true.
You've still got the crutch. I thought I'd stop that, but now.
And I think that's why, like, a lot of people don't even realize that food is an addiction. A lot of people do now, but a lot of people still don't. Like, everyone knows universally that, you know, let's say heroin or alcohol, like, they can be abused easily. But with food, it's like, it's a cheeseburger, it's food. We need to eat to survive. We need food. But there's different kinds of food, right? Like, I'm not gonna go and, like, binge on carrots. Like, I just don't, you know what I'm saying?
I have 2 points to make here. One, I've said many times before, but her narrative of food is a harder addiction because we need it pisses me off like you wouldn't believe. Alcoholics need liquid in their body. They don't need alcohol. You need food. You don't need junk. I've said that before. I won't go into it here, but I'm really sick of that narrative. Second, what was second? This thing where I'm not going to binge on carrots. Then fill your effing house with carrots. You know, the first step I do when I think, okay, you know what, I'm not eating well, I need to make a change. Because I go back and forth with it. I've been very clear on that with you. But I make a no-fail environment. The stuff that I know is going to trigger me, I get out of the house. So if I'm craving it, it's not easily available. If you're not going to binge on carrots, fill your friggin' house with carrots and other foods that you're not going to binge on. Take the foods that are just fuel to you and fill your house with them.
Addictive. So it's just, there's so much, like, learning going on with this whole condition, and it's just still so odd to me, even me. Like, what the hell? So I'm gonna end the video here, and there may be, oh yeah, and I wanted to, speaking of, like, things that I try to hide from everybody, I guess, like, I have some tics, like moving my nose involuntarily. I could try to control, like, the full tic and just do part of it. So a lot of people ask me, like, why do you, like, pull your nose down and stuff? And I have, like, these tics, facial tics. So
again, it's a tic, stop making fun of me. And that's a fair thing to say, to be like, it's a medical thing. But she also, I'm sure she had a video at some point where she admitted to faking some or over-exaggerating them. Like the thing. It used to be less voluntary than it is. It used to be one of her saying she'd say a lot and then it disappeared. And then she brought it back. She very noticeably brought it back. So to be like, I have tics, so don't, you know, it's a thing, just so you know it's a thing. And then use that when you want to, gives a very mixed message.
That's why. But obviously I'm embarrassed about them, so I try to hide them. But
I mean, cut them out the video.
I think people know.
Cut them out the video.
Anyway,
like,
I'm gonna get off.
If you are, you don't need to show it to us, honey. You can, like, if it is a genuine thing, if it's a real and genuine thing that you can't deal with people because you feel sensitive about it, because it's a real and genuine thing, cut it out of the video. We don't need to see it if you don't want to show it.
Off of here. So I will be okay, guys. I get like this sometimes and I disappear. I get in a funk, I disappear. And I just get really tired of fighting sometimes. But I like that quote. I don't know if I already used it, but I keep thinking about it. When you get tired, learn to rest, not quit.
That would be nice. That would be useful for you.
That's where I've been. Alright guys, thank you.
But just be aware that not quitting means while you're resting, don't then bring in the junk food. It doesn't mean, like, because that's the same thing as quitting for you. Like, look at your habits and where you can maybe scale things back that are overwhelming you without bringing the bad habits back.
Thank you for listening to me, and just know that I'll be okay. I am getting help, And okay guys, I'll talk to you later. I'll see you in the next video, okay? Bye.
Okay, everyone, so that's where we are. I'm sad she's dealing with that. Depression makes things a lot harder. Anxiety makes things a lot harder. It is very simple for me at times to be like, well, then go get help. But the fact is, when you are depressed, when you're just sitting there and you can't focus on anything, the thought of getting help is so unbelievably overwhelming. And the belief that there is help out there isn't always with you. You're like, this is how it is, this is how it's always going to be. And this would genuinely be something that she could talk to Pete about. She said she spoke to a friend, but Pete is going through therapy right now. Pete is experienced with that process and his depression diagnosis and all the other things. So he could genuinely be a good source of both talking and comfort here. I realize he's facing his own issues right now. He might not be mentally in a place where he can help her, but that would be a good thing to do. But as ever, it frustrates me a lot that she has so much access to so many different people that could help her in different areas of her life, could help her with her diet, could help her with her medical needs, could help her with her mood, with stabilizing her mood, with getting into both short and long-term help with her mood. And she accesses them and doesn't use them. Or she accesses them and then she's not compliant with them. And then has these problems again. Like, go to your doctor, do what you need to do. Because there is no form of progress that doesn't involve you being uncomfortable and just doing the thing. You can decide all you want, but the actions are what are going to help you. And with depression, with anxiety, it might be a slow road. It might be small changes. You might feel like crap for a while, and you might later feel like crap again. But you have to keep going for it to work, and ultimately that's a problem she's had with everything. So thank you very much for listening. Put your thoughts, comments, questions down below. Like, subscribe. What do you think of the video? How are you feeling? And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.